Hey, welcome back to another episode for Life for Living Well. My name is Richard. Before I dive into the topic that I have for us this week, I'd like to quickly say, if you'd like to know one or two things about this community, Life for Living Well, you can find it out on our community website at www.lifeforlivingwell.com. And if you also like to, if you mix any of the podcasts and you want to see the video blog of it, we also have a YouTube channel. So if you just search Life for Living Well, so please subscribe to it, and then you can also see the visual side of the podcast. So we try to publish article weekly and also release the podcast weekly, and also have a video blog that we also maintain weekly. So let's dive into it without taking much of our time, as we working toward of limiting the podcast to between 10 to 20 minutes. And so let's dive into it without taking much of your time. Once again, the title for this podcast this week is what we call How to Face Your Biggest Fear. We all have fear, but the purpose of this podcast is to show how, firstly, to identify those fears, and also the things that we can do that within us to be able to overcome them. So, as we normally do, is to take one individual inspirational individual and use their word to build the podcast around it. So this week I'm taking from Waldo Emerson and how he put it down of facing the fear. And he put it this way: he who is not every day conquering some fear has not learned the secret of life. So the secret of life is to put yourself in a place where your heartbeat is jump. That's it. So you make it intentionally to try to do one thing that's out of your comfort zone every day. And so instead of just doing things like adventure, look at the things that you're so afraid to do and take a step each day to overcoming them, to work toward it. So throughout the history, humans have faced many fears and challenges. And most of these fears and challenges, it can seem unsurmountable, things that we cannot overcome, things that is so big that sometimes you have to run away. But with the history, with the things that we're enjoying today, maybe flying from one continent to another continent. So just imagine the brothers, the first time they decided to build a plane. So just think what have happened to that invention before it become safe and stable enough for majority of the people in the world today to travel by air. So think about the trade. So me and my family went to our local museum the other day, and the first fire carriage that we saw was the horse and some carrier that carried the horse. But just imagine the invention, the changes that happened over the years to the point that the whole process become automation in a way that you don't really need a human being and the animals to push the carriage in order to extinguish the fire. So that particular thing is that evolved over the centuries. So imagine what it takes to overcome your fear. And still, they overcome the obstacles. So the fear is part of our existence. We cannot deny it. We cannot run away for it. So once we didn't do what we need to do, the byproduct of refusing to face our fears is even more costly for us. It's health-related issues, so which also affect us to grow as individuals. You probably heard of or known people whose fear of failure hold them back from achieving their dreams. So take, for example, instances where they are more common than you might imagine. So people fear sometimes holding them back in becoming or living the life that they really desire or dream to live. Fear of failures may be the reason why some people chose not to go into a relationship, even though deep down, relationship is the thing that they really want to experience in their lifetime. So, and it is important that, yes, as we're getting older, we take less risk compared to when we are younger. But to live a fulfilling life, opportunity will come every day. And it takes individual to take that opportunity and use it for their own personal growth, as Waldo Emerson said. So I was captivated by two stories. And this particular podcast is a podcast that is more built around a testimony of others. And the way I narrated this story is also more important so that you can relate to it. Maybe you have a different story to the stories I'm about to share with you. But what the story is trying to do is to show you two individuals that have fears, and their fears are govern their behavior, their actions, and how they react to it. So this story was narrated to me by one of the family members of this individual. So there was an elderly lady that traveled far away from her country to meet her family. But when she left her country, she faked disability in the area of mobility, that she cannot walk properly. So the airline have to provide support to use a wheelchair to push her into the plane. So when she arrived, so they also provided assistance to push her through the immigration control into the arrival area. So when her family saw her, first they were amazed and shocked that this individual have not spoken to them about this particular problem. So why they are on the wheelchair? So the moment they arrived to the arrival area, so they stood up and they started walking. So they thanked the person that pushed them outside, and they started walking faster. So the family noticed that the person that pushed them was even amazed that the person can actually walk. So, and the family also were a little bit shocked. So they have so many questions to ask, but they couldn't utter the question out at that moment. So they hug each other. So when they told me this story, I was amazed with it. So when I had the opportunity to meet the elderly lady, so one day I asked, why did you fake helplessness that you cannot walk? Why do you do that? So our explanations, because for me, I was thinking, what is the direct benefit in doing all those things? I couldn't see any financial or emotional benefit that attached to her faking mobility that she cannot walk. So, but when I have the chance to ask the question, why did you do that? Our response was so surreal that it was built around fear of her past experience, travel by herself, and get lost in the airport, not able to understand the accent of the people that she's speaking to, and so afraid that immigration might ask her the question and she didn't understand, so meaning that she might be so feel embarrassed that she didn't understand. So the shame of not able to comprehend what people are saying was so much for her that she was trying to find a way to overcome the shame. So you can understand now why she chose those actions. But in reality, the fear is still there. So it means that every time she travels, she worries all the time about the things that may happen to her. So with her last trip before this one, she also said that she's almost missed a flight because she has a stopover and she didn't know how to navigate from one gate to another gate. And she doesn't understand what people are saying because of different accent. So she was looking for a way to managing it, but the approach she took was totally wrong. Because firstly, what is the problem? The problem is she doesn't understand what people say. So is the help of fake immobility is the answer to the problem? Obviously no. But that's why you chose to handle it. But with that, she still stressed so much when she's coming and when she's going back. And that also making personal growth difficult because she has not changed for the last 10 years in the way she approached shame, the way she approached lack of understanding what other people are saying, fear of getting lost in the airport. That fear, that feelings is still there. And that takes me to the second story. And the second one is the one told and shared to me by the husband. So the wife, kind of person that she's so afraid to fly. And anything that requires them to travel far away from home is something that she's always run away from. So the husband make a lot of effort to travel back home. But it come to a point that his job was so busy with the project that he was unable to travel for the period of 3 months. So the agreement they have is for the wife to come because she's run her own business, so she can also take a little bit more time to visit her husband. But she's always afraid of flying. And anytime she needs to fly, she probably spends days watching the news about the weather. And every time she tries to book a flight, if they say it's going to be a storm or rain, she's going to cancel it. So every time they have a plan to meet, they have to cancel it. And that brings a lot of frustration in their marriage. So what she normally do instead is to travel by road, where if she travel by air, it will take her almost 2 hours by air to arrive to where her husband residing. So, but if she travel by road, it means it take her around 4 days to get there. And out of 7 days she planned to use to spend with her husband, she already spent 4 days on the road. And that creates things. So when I now spoke to the woman, I had a chance to chat with her. One thing that's so obvious throughout the conversation is a fear of lack of control. And the worst place to pretend you have control is in the air. It's in the plane because you have no control totally. So the sense of lack of control make it difficult for her to even think of flying. The fear of height, the fear of death. So all these fears are coming and they are creating deeper, more health-related issues like anxiety, like panic attack. So to the point that she sometimes admitted to the hospital. And this creates a lot of strain into their relationship. So our approach of facing this fear is not necessarily work for them as a couple. It creates a lot of strain in their relationship. So you can all see the two examples that I said to you. The approach the two women took to confront these fears that they have, it didn't work for them. And the most especially, they missed the opportunity of personal growth. As people, we are very, very good to use our imagination and our creativity to avoid or run away from solutions. So most of the things we create deny or just pretend that it's not there. So what will you say is your own biggest fear, and how do you overcome it? So as individuals, we also fear the failure. We render life unbearable and destructive. There are steps you can take today to confront these fears and become a healthier person. So what are those steps? It's just 2 steps. In my experience and the others' experience that I've observed, I've read about, I've heard, I had. So one of the key tools in confronting any fear is honesty and integrity. And that is what is absent in 2 examples that I gave earlier. The ability to acknowledge reality without evasion. So many people resort to imagination and creativity to avoid confronting what they fear. It is crucial to start being honest with oneself. Not only will you overcome your fear, but you will also grow when we refuse to deceive ourselves. Then it becomes impossible for others to deceive us. So, most important thing to confronting your fear is to be honest about it. And integrity will only just make you more accountable and responsible for your actions. And the only way you overcome any fear is to take the actions. Not thinking about it, not avoiding it, not running away from it. Is to take actions. If you own $1,000 or £1,000, you might not be able to pay £1,000 in the next 10 months, but you may be able to pay a $10 today, this week, this month. Then it's no longer $1,000. So what I'm saying to you, you take actions. Maybe you have a challenges or fear of debt. Maybe you need a personal coach. Maybe you need a class. Maybe you need things that you need to retrain your mind to help you to overcome it. So finally, I encourage you to embracing honesty and integrity. We greatly assist you in confronting your biggest fears. So just imagine someone that has a fear of water, which may stem from childhood experiences or adult narratives, even in cases where no one in the family swims. When you witness the possibilities of water on television, from the comfort of your home, you may feel inspired to experience it firsthand. Yet, when you are physically close to the water, nerve setting, instead of merely dreaming or watching, but set a goal. So what the goal could contain, it could be like swimming with the dolphins. Something to motivate you. Something bigger than just swimming. So the first step is learning to swim, ideally in a class with others who are also new to swimming. This will boost your courage and motivation. Over time, you will become proficient at swimming, and the fear that held you back for years will fade away. Eventually, you will be able to book a holiday where you can swim with dolphins. This short example is my personal story of overcoming the fear of water. What is your fear? What steps have you taken to overcome it? Please share your story. You never know whose life you might touch. So you can drop me your story or through our website, lifeorlivingwell.com. You can just drop us a note or make a comment or feedback with the articles, and I can assure you, you don't know who your story may touch. Thank you for your time. Until we meet again next week, have a wonderful week. Ciao.